Basically, there are two rival sorcerers. There's Horus, our hero, and there's Isaac, the enemy, the Satan figure of the story. And these two have been fighting each other for 400 pages. And they've finally reached this standstill. And they've reached this place, which is called Keva, which is Hebrew, and it means the crown. And in this place called Keva, that's the source of all magical power. So you've got these two sorcerers, they're exhausted, and they've come to this place where all magical power is issuing forth from, this place called Keva. And you may be thinking, okay, how does this relate to the theme of love? Well, this brings me to the second thing I have to tell you about this, which is of course, there are many different forms of love that we can explore. There's romantic love, the love between friends, love between family, and of course the love of parents for their children. And, not to do my father down, because he is the most wonderful father anyone could ever wish for, but I think even he would acknowledge that the love of a mother for their child is even more primal. Primal. And so it is a mother's love that we'll be exploring today. And you may wonder, how does a mother's love connect to two sorcerers having it out in a cosmic battle? Well, you're about to find out. The third thing I have to tell you before I read this is, there are one or two naughty words in this extract. And I did consider editing them out and making it clean for you all, but the writer Ben Jonson once said, "Language most shows a man, speak that I may see thee." And so, for the writers or the aspiring creatives in the audience, if you want to show character, and not just tell me about it in a really boring way, you want to show me it, dialogue is the way to go. So I've left the bad words in, because they're said by a really bad guy, and it adds a bit more flavour to it. So I do apologise if your sensibilities are offended, but I think it adds something, and I think it contextualises things. So
bring on the filth.
Bring on the filth. Prepare thyself. Okay. And then, falling once more, we came upon a precipice, a darkened bluff where spirits trod, those souls, now nameless ghosts who'd cast aside the self to break the karmic wheel, rejoin the source, the masters. It was they around us now, those sorcerers who'd reached the light, and that same light now dawned far out, such brilliance as cannot be described. The holy crown, Keva, the final sphere, and one too potent for us both. It's done, Isaac. There's nowhere left, and entering the light is certain death, for he who enters it does not return. Isaac chuckled and rose slowly to feet. I matched him, nervously waiting, the light moving towards the cliffs. I yearned to look into its core, but knew to do so would be heresy, for none can comprehend the one and live. They must abjure, or else be brought up into bliss. I did not think you had such strength, Horus. Dare I to think he was impressed? I must admit, you've come further than I could readily believe. Your magic's potent, skill refined. Perhaps we should not fight, squabble, but join our art. Who could resist? The two of us, together, we'd consume. The world could not oppose our will. I wronged you, that's the truth. But now I see we were not meant to struggle on, but come together, make them kneel. A lie to say I was not swayed for one moment. He spoke some truth. For if we joined our might, none could oppose. We were the shapers, sorcerers unbound, and though our souls would be unwound, we'd make the earthly realm our one, and live 1,000 lifespans of the elves, ruling in utmost potency, splendour, until the world itself would come undone. But then I thought of dear Haniel, and all the lives he'd wrecked or else ended. How could I join? He was the source of woe. I thought of Melmoth dead, of Thoth adrift within the Clipoth's gulf. I thought of Queen Melissia and how she'd been corrupted. I pitied those I'd hated then, knowing how Isaac had abused, how used, how utterly deformed. but most of all I pitied him. My God, he seemed a wreck, half jackal, half a cruel goblin. The lows to which he'd stooped had bent his shape to something quite inhuman. His hand, outstretched, beckoned to me, but I just shook my head. Sorry. His eyes burned with bright tears. Then dark laughter, hilarity as he twisted, doubled, then tore his face with his own nails. Hilarious, hilarious, I'm such a joke. I'll always be a joke. The light drew near. I felt its manifest, as if the warmth of sunlight's kiss could also touch the ears, the tongue, the smell, and also soul. A light that spoke in honeyed sibilance, that whispered of the promises to come. Isaac, it's nearly here. Come on, come back with me. I rambled, dumb. And like Jinning, I thought we could save the wretched maze. A foolish hope. No, no, Horace, he softly spoke. I'll not return to kiss the feet of those stupid and unenlightened cunts. That Eastern night with all her pomp. No, no, this is the last. He turned to face the brimming light. A force so strong it quelled my heart. I'll take the flame of Kether from its source. I'll harness all the power of God. His dreadful eyes turned back to me. And then I'll kill you. Finally. He stepped towards its searing blast. I clasped him, intent to pull him back, but far too late. The wave washed over us. Brother, I cried, a terror in my heart, for I felt what he could not feel, a total fear to see Almighty God. Isaac had the greatest strength, his intellect beyond my ken. His power, grown nearly limitless, made mine seem but a candle flame. But one small difference, one thing that death despised, the saving grace from that immortal pyre. I had been baptized. My mother's love performed the miracle. So awesome, even heaven's Lord was forced to stoop before its might, for he witnessed reflection of himself. So boundless and eternally felt, that even in this realm beyond our world, I felt her loving me. I felt her there. She whose hands had painted me and given life where life was bare. I felt her love and nearly came undone. To contemplate its majesty, its power, defeated all my intellect, left me a babe against that love. Nothing could triumph. And Isaac howled. As flame consumed his form, his eyes burst from their sockets, goo splattered down his cheeks, now screaming, blind, his flesh reduced to blackened singe, his tongue burned out his mouth, a fitting punishment for one who hid the truth. And I, within the centre of that blast, surrounded by a force of pure Kether, immune through virtue of a single drop of water on my brow and loving words, my mother's face beheld within the fire, her smile so tender and so full of grace that love projected towards me as potent as a Gorgon stare, transfixing with similar power but not the same, a thing of beauty rare and healing to the very bone. But with sadness I perceived something Isaac had never known. Thank you.